Here at Be Freaking Awesome, we believe that life is too short to be anything less than extraordinary. Join us as we explore what it means to live authentically, grow continuously, and have a blast while doing it. Let's get started. Welcome, everyone, to today's episode of Be Freaking Awesome. I am one of your hosts, Sami, here with Angela Belford, and today we are joined by the fabulous Dr. Joi Lewis. We are going to be having a really great conversation. You know us, it's going to wander, it's going to rabbit trail, it's going to lead to deep and cool places. So before we get into that, Dr. Joi, would you mind just taking a moment to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do these days?
Sure. Thank you. So as you said, I'm Dr. Joi Lewis. People finally call me Dr. Joy, and I am a facilitator of liberation and a community healer. And
Mm,
I have done that work for over 20 years now. Currently, I am sharing about my process of the Orange Method, which I created and is outlined in my book, Healing the Act of Radical Self-Care, on July 5th of 2024. I survived a massive stroke, so I've slowed down from that work a bit of doing a lot of public work, but very thankful to be on podcast to be able to share and get this information out.
well, that's amazing. And I know part of that overcoming just the recovery from a stroke is a part of the story as well. I would love can we start with what do you mean by radical self-care? What does that look like to you? What does that mean for people?
Yep, so radical self-care means it is a top priority, and this is not about something that you are just adding to your list. But it's more about what are those daily practices that you can incorporate in as a way to um, kind of bank some energy because we don't know how life is gonna happen, and so we want to be prepared. So we have to kind of store up some good energy by putting in daily practices. So the Orange Method has three parts, four parts. First, meditation, which is about getting grounded, mindfulness, which is about getting present, emotional liberation, which is about getting free, and conscious movement, which is about getting going.
Hmm.
So, how do we do those things? In meditation, I want to just say that um, it's been so commercialized that we can, one might think I have to go away to a retreat in order for me to be able to meditate. But I really like to encourage people to meditate when there's a lot going on, when there's a lot of chaos, because that's how life is. And it really is about like what we did at the beginning of our call, just taking a moment to breathe and then taking another breath and then letting it out. Just that pause. It really
Yeah.
is that there's a lot of power in the pause.
There is, and I think that self-care in general, I feel like it's really, like, commercialized in some ways, and it's not just about getting your nails done and take a bubble bath, but, like, that's what it can then feel like if it is not something that is a part of your common practice and your regular routines, it does feel like it's just another chore. It's something to get done, not something to fill you and fuel you. I like that of banking the energy for later. And it is different. It's not bubble baths and manicures.
Well, let me just say that
Maybe it is.
bubble baths and manicures are also a part of it, but it's not all.
Right.
It counts, right?
It does
Mhm.
count.
Anytime you
Yeah.
take a pause, it counts. So I don't want to belittle any of it.
That is a
It's
very
all
good
good.
point.
Yep. Whatever
I
you can
appreciate
do to
that.
take care of yourself is beautiful. However that
Yeah.
shows up.
It's
Mm.
interesting you mentioned manicures and, uh, bubble baths because I regularly get massages, and everybody's like, "Oh, that must be so luxurious," and I'm like, As that's like changing the oil in my car. Like, literally, this body is the only vehicle I have, and I have to tune to it. I have to attend
That's
to it.
right.
I have
Yep.
to give it some, like, the time and attention
Attention.
that it needs, and that means that I am not able to get all of the muscles kinked out and, and stretched out, and I'm hard on my body. I expect a lot from it. I'm easier on it now than I was 20 years ago, right? Just because I've learned that I can't, or that I don't want to continue to abuse my body in the name of trying to outrun my beliefs. And so for me, when I think about self care, it really is about we have a way to be in this world. That is my mental, my emotional, and my physical being, my spiritual being. I have to tend to all. I love those different core areas. Can you go over them one more time? Because I want to hear them
Sure.
one more time.
Meditation, which is about getting grounded. Mindfulness, which is about getting present. And emotional liberation, which is about getting free. Conscious movement, which is about getting going, getting,
Love.
yeah. Because we can get stuck. As they say, sitting is the new smoking. So sometimes
Hmm.
we just have to get up and get moving.
Well, and I'm curious, and I know that this is something that you talk about, and I'd love to hear more. For the person sitting here listening and or for my own self, asking for a friend, if you will, there are so many times where like self-care does not feel like my top priority. The world has a lot of things going on and there are a lot of problems out there and I just need to like no, I don't have time to like sit still and do these things. I have to go run and pursue and work and help. Can you talk a little bit more about just
Yeah, I
like
would just say that you don't have time not to do it because
yeah.
it's about being able to pour. You can't pour from an empty cup. And if you don't have anything in there, you're supposed to be giving from your overflow, not, which means you have to first make sure your cup is full. If there's no overflow, then you don't have anything to give.
Yeah.
Y- You say that that radical self care is communal. But it feels like by the very nature, with self-care, we're supposed to be by ourselves. Like, we're supposed to take care of our body, we're taking care of our mind, our spirit. How is it communal?
I say it's communal because part of we are really by nature herd animals. We need to be connected with each other.
We
So
are. That's a good point.
there's a way getting in isolation. It's a difference between doing something alone and being isolated. And you can get really disconnected from other people and loved ones. Sometimes you need to just be in community. It really accelerates the self-care because you're dealing with other people who care about you, and we really are mirrors to each other. So then you might forget how awesome you are, but your friend or your loved one can remember that, so you can see them and that can help you. So this isn't that time to just go off by yourself. I mean, sometimes it's necessary to have that quiet time by yourself, but I just am saying that part of self-care is collective care, being in community.
I have started saying this phrase the last few months. Um, I have expressed gratitude to some of my friends. I'm like, thank you for witnessing my story. I have a friend who we started life coach certification together, and we've continued to meet weekly for almost 4 years now. And she has witnessed so much growth. So, to your point of like when I forget, and I'll be like, "Ah, rah, 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 whatever." And she's like, "Wait, wait, 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 wait. Remember a year ago, this is what you were talking about, and this is what you were struggling with, and look at how you've overcome that." And so it has been in that experience. And then with others, I will just be like, thank you for witnessing my story. Because sometimes in the telling of someone, I come to a aha moment myself. Right? And so sometimes I don't need them to tell me, but just in the hearing of it, then I can say, "Oh, I've never put that together."
Yeah.
Mm.
And
So I
there is
love the
an African
community.
proverb that says, "If you wanna go fast, go alone. If you wanna go far, go together."
Mm.
Mm. I feel that in so many things, and the going together, I do think it makes things more beautiful and more enjoyable. I'm thinking about there's times where me and one of my really good friends, we will actually get together to sit and read together because we don't have enough time to we want to dedicate more time in our life for reading, and so instead of reading alone, we sit near each other in the same room, not talking to each other, reading our own books because it just feels more fun.
Yep.
Like I'm doing this hobby with my friend, even though we're
Yes,
not talking to each other.
but you're
It
together.
somehow is more fulfilling than reading in a room by myself,
Yep,
even though we're
yep.
not talking. Okay, so the third thing, which I know this is out of order, emotional liberation, the third thing within the orange method. Can you talk more about that? What is that? That sounds different than like emotional poise or than, you know, tending to your tell me more. What is emotional
The emotional
liberation?
liberation really is about getting free from those things that may be keeping you stuck or that you might be triggered about, whether it's current or old, but you gotta get it up
Mm,
and out.
okay. It's not is it like I don't want to feel like I'm going to be liberated from feeling emotions or I'm liberating from feeling like stuck in them?
Feeling stuck in them. No, you wanna feel
Mm,
the emotions. That's what makes
yeah,
us human. You
right.
we do a lot of things to keep us from feeling. Feelings are meant to be felt. So,
They
and if we
are.
don't deal with them, they're gonna usually come at um, in at a time that's not convenient, at an inconvenient time.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
you wanna actually deal with them.
What does that look like, for someone to start to engage in emotional liberation for themselves?
So, I recommend a few things. One way that I constantly do my emotional liberation is through writing, whether that's journaling. I have a practice called two-way prayer where I write a letter to my higher power who I call God, and then I pause and listen to see what they have to say back to me. So
Mm, I like that. That's
mhm.
really good. I am also a big fan of journaling. If you're watching the YouTube, you can see behind me on the shelf, I'm currently on volume 18 of my journals, and so I like to keep them all here, but uh, that is a space that will probably not make a communal activity. That one's me and mine.
Well,
Me and my
that's what I
higher
love
power.
about, two-way prayer is that I also do that. I utilize that and do it in community. There are two-way
Mm,
prayer meetings where you take time to write in silence to write, and then you can do, what you becomes three-way prayer because someone else's you can share what you wrote if you like, and they're witnessing, and they let you know if they hear anything, not to tell you what your higher power is saying to you, but how it landed for them, and if
yeah.
they got anything, and that it's, like, surprising. I've done it in groups, and we may have all been writing on the same thing, we had no idea that we were all dealing with could have been around issues of grief or whatever, but so
Well, that's
it is something
beautiful.
you can do communal. And then I wanted to say something else about banking and getting and connecting with people, and that is, um, here's the exercise I would encourage folks to do. Write down the names of take a pause. You can pause if you want. Um, take a pause and write down the name of 3 people who, when you spend time with them, you feel amazing, awesome, and brilliant in their presence. Okay. Just write their names down. We'll come back to it. And my only thing is don't put anybody's name down out of obligation. This is for you. You don't have to share your list with people, but this is for you to be this is a time to be selfish, to just say. So this is not like I should put my spouse on the list because that's the right thing to do. No. Only if that only put down the person who, when you spend time with them, you just feel amazing, awesome, and brilliant. That's who I want on your list. No shoulds. Do not be shoulding all over yourself. No shoulds.
I
What
like
I
that.
was thinking is, oh, what a great goal for me. I want to be the kind of person who helps other people feel amazing, awesome, and brilliant. And I was just thinking about that. I had a check in my spirit of like some situations this week that I dealt with. And I was like, ooh, what if in that situation, instead of trying to get your point made or get your, what if my first goal was to make somebody else, the other people in the conversation, feel amazing, awesome, and brilliant, and then from that place of all of us feeling brilliant, how much better would that conversation
Here's the second
go?
part, I wanna invite you to think about is to take some time later today and, on your list of people, take a moment and send them a text and just say, "I was asked to list 3 people who really make me feel amazing, awesome, and brilliant, and you were on my list," and let that person know. What a gift. Can you imagine just picking up your text and getting that from somebody randomly?
No, I love that. I feel like we have talked before. I have this metaphor about relationship building that to get a little bit weird about in my brain. There's a pantry in my brain that is full of a bunch of jars. And every day I have so many marbles that I can go drop into the jars. And there are some days where I have a lot of marbles and I send a lot of text messages, I go to coffee with a friend, I spend this time. And then there's some days where I'm like, I got like two marbles and those two marbles are probably going to go to my three kids split between them. Like that might be it, and that's okay. Different days give us different things, and there are almost all the time. I always have some amount of marbles, and sending a text message is a way to just drop a marble into the relationship jar, and it also sometimes, like, sending this kinda text, maybe it's actually the equivalent of dropping, like, 7 marbles, and it grows exponentially, and so I think that feeding those friendships and tending to them maybe I need a garden metaphor because it is like tending to a garden, I don't know, but my jars of marbles in my pantry in my brain is what is stuck for a long time, and so I think about that, and then when I'm in need, are there people I can go to and people I know? I've got a lot of relationship marbles with them. I can go make a withdrawal, and I when I ask for help, in my head, I feel like, "Oh, I'm going to pull some marbles out of the jar." Every single time I ask for help, it adds marbles. I'm like, "Hey, I'm out of marbles. I need help." It benefits them and it benefits me, and somehow more marbles appeared in the jar. I'm like, "I didn't know where those marbles came from." So, it's still it's so good to do this and even Angela, to maybe your point, like seeking out and talking about I was on this podcast today and I listened to this that what do you guys think? Who are people that make you feel what are things that make you feel amazing and brilliant? It's a good conversation starter. I love this. This is a really good activity.
Yeah, so to do that with writing down, I have people to write down who are the people and what are the activities that make you feel amazing, awesome, and brilliant. And then think about when is the last time I spent time with those folks? When's the last time I actually engaged in that activity? And so if your energy bank is feeling low, take a look at your list and then go to one of those things so you can fill it up.
I had a moment a couple years ago where I realized that all of my people kind of on my close list, the people that built me up, we had met when I was younger and moved away, and they were all long distance friends. And I took it as a practice actually to like, okay, I'm going to really invest in people next to me. This is actually where it's feeling really griefy. One of the people who I like spent a lot of time investing in and who really became one of my very best friends is my next door neighbor. And we have kids similar ages and all of these things. And it has been beautiful to watch like our life develop and flourish. And then all of a sudden, her husband gets a job in Colorado and they are going to be moving away. They're actually currently under contract for their new house, and their current house is under contract, and it has been I have had to, like, notice the conscious feeling and the temptation of my brain to say, "See, this is what happens when you invest in people, they leave." And I go, "No, no, no. It is beautiful to love and to have loved and they move and their relationship is gonna change, and it is still this season was so beautiful. We're not going to fall into the temptation of saying, 'See, relationships just all leave you, Sammy.' We're gonna be very guarded against that line of thinking, and anyway, the grief is real and is a
Feel the
lot,
grief.
and
Give yourself space to feel the grief and to
yes,
show
and
that em
even I told my friend, I said, "Look, I will give you the decision of when you want to receive this, but I will not give you the option to not receive this. You let me know when you want to know just how much you mean to me and how much this friendship has meant to my life." I told her, I was like, I can tell you right now, I can write it down in a letter for you to read later, or I can tell you later when it's closer to the move. Unfortunately, there is not an option where I don't share with you just how much our friendship has meant to
oh,
me.
that's beautiful.
I am gonna give that to you, even if it's in a letter and you can choose to read it whenever you want. It was She laughed a lot because she's, somebody who's like, "I gotta get in task mode. I don't wanna I gotta" there was the day where she's like, "I have a lot of things today. Let's schedule that for later, our heartfelt cry." And I was like, "Fantastic. We will schedule our cry later, and it'll be okay."
I
Ugh.
I do have a question, Dr. Joy, actually. As some I've been thinking a lot about the idea of abandonment, and that's one of the future books I'm working on. Is really I can't write about it until I heal my abandonment issues. So heads up, everybody, we're going to be unpacking some of that in the next couple of years, which I think we've already been. But my question is related to what Sammy said. Um, I hypothesize that it is common as we age to think, even if it's unconsciously or subconsciously, I'm not sure. Gosh, I'm reluctant to make friends because I'm gonna lose them. I'm like they're just gonna move away, they're gonna die, and then we end up in what our country is having right now, which is a loneliness epidemic. And is that and I feel like Sammy's having to consciously guard against that, and I'm curious if you see that in your work that people kind of like, I'm just gonna I'm I'm tired of losing friends, you know?"
Well, I think it's real, and as we move through life in different stages and seasons, people do come and go out of our lives, you know, and that can be very painful. But I think again it goes back to the orange method and that piece around emotional liberation of being this isn't about numbing our feelings out or avoiding because you don't know who might be added to your life. So being open and you don't know why. So we get to be open and curious and know that there's one of my favorite books that's called Women, Food and God. Um and she writes in there about the pain that we're trying to avoid, we've already experienced. We just have to
Mm,
stop and actually feel it. And it's like you're living your life in
yeah.
reverse. The pain we're trying to avoid, the issue, the thing has already happened. So now we're trying to avoid it. But you really just have to let the feelings come and experience and
I
know that you'll be able to handle it. But
I heard a
the thing has
quote
already happened.
I heard a quote recently that said, "What you are afraid of when people think they're afraid of the unknown, you're actually afraid of your past becoming your tomorrow." Um, it's not actually unknown. It's the things that you know have happened and you don't want to happen again. And it's a good point. You've already experienced it. It's okay to
It's
keep
already happened.
yeah.
We haven't stopped to actually experience how it felt. It already happened.
I do a lot of executive coaching, and one of the things that is kind of my favorite is when somebody's afraid to do something. I we go ahead and in the coaching scenario, we imagine it, and whether it's a hard conversation or or if it's like imagining ourselves speaking on a big stage. And I'm like, what you're afraid of is the sensations that come up, that churning feeling, that sweating, that racing heart. We're afraid of all of those sensations. Let's go ahead and feel them. I said, wouldn't you rather feel them right here on a Zoom call with me instead of feeling them when you stand up on a stage? Or like one of my clients, it was like they were going to have a hard conversation with somebody. And so I brought a really hard, I like went deep and went hard. And then the next week, I'm like, so how did it go? And he's like, "Well, that person is way nicer than you were." So it was easy because he'd already experienced
Yeah,
that racy feeling and all of
exactly.
those sensations that are coming up. And I'm like, I
Yes,
also
that's
did speech
emotional
coaching. It's
liberation.
yes.
Yeah,
Mm.
Someone said, "Oh my gosh, every time I get ready to speak, my stomach is churning and my heart's racing." And I go, "Is that bad?" Of course it's bad. And I'm like, no, it's only bad because you decide it's bad. You can decide it means that your body's getting ready to perform and that it takes it very seriously. And that's just what it feels like to take something very seriously. But you're deciding it's bad and you're making yourself miserable. So I think there's a lot of the fearing what our body will do um, in those situations. And maybe we just don't know how to handle and how to bleed that off. So,
think that
can
we're
you
not
give
gonna
us
be able to do it, but you'd be surprised.
mm,
And getting company is really helpful too. Call it bookending, calling somebody before the thing and having something set up for afterwards, so you're not by yourself.
I
I
love
think
that.
that's really good. I have a different question. Sorry to pivot, but where where did the orange method come from? Can you tell us about just your journey and process and how this came about for you? Why the orange method? What makes it orange?
Well, thanks for that question. Orange, within not only being my favorite color, but it also is the, sacral chakra, that is right below the belly button where transformation happens. So, I
Okay,
learned
I
about
like
that
that.
later, but orange is very powerful in that way, it's about transformation.
Okay.
We had an episode, and I'm sure you know this, but I want to reference, I love referencing back episodes, and we had an episode on color
Psychology.
physics. It was more that it was a little different than the psychology, and she talked about that the color of joy is orange, and that's why I thought that was gonna be the tie-in, because there was an element where, like, happiness is yellow and, I can't remember all of the different colors, but, like
Passion was red, and
mhm,
so, like, a passionate happiness is
mhm,
orange. Um,
That's
I
great.
remember that
I haven't
part.
heard that, but thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
yeah.
How did you, come into this work?
Thanks for asking. I had a career for 25 years on college campuses in administration as a dean of students and a chief diversity officer. And doing that work around social justice, I really look back and notice that it was social justice, but it was a lot of healing work, a lot of opportunity for people to deal with the kinds of oppression that was happening. So when I was in that role, and then whenever I left in 2014, when I left higher ed and started my own coaching and consulting firm, it was right at the height of things happening in our country when the Black Lives Matter movement was born, and I started doing more work in community around healing. It was a
Mm.
really I feel like I got called to this work.
Well, and I feel like even healing justice is a phrase we're hearing more and more now. If you want people how do you want people to understand that phrase? If maybe they have misconceptions or not, maybe they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm locked in." How do you think that we should be understanding that?
Yeah, so thanks for asking. Healing justice is really about it's a really iterative word that is continuing to to gain meaning as we move through the world, which is really awesome about it. But so it's not just awareness of oppression, but it also is about how we look at how we might be complicit, how people might be getting harmed, and what are things that we can do to actually shift that individually and collectively.
Yeah, I think that individually and collectively. You you don't just want collective and you don't just want individual.
You
It's
know?
same as self-care. It is individual and it is communal. It is us taking responsibility and communities taking that responsibility.
And being in
What
community, not separate from, but a part of. Um, it's about identifying in, not comparing. We use comparison to see how we're different and we can separate ourselves from each other. But when we are looking to identify in,
mm,
how like how are our as I said, we're herd animals, and so we have a need to be connected.
mm, a maybe bigger question, as you think about just your own work and legacy, how do you hope people what do you hope your legacy is and the impact that you have?
Such a great question. I hope that my legacy is that I one of the things that I'm able to do is, not only I think connect with people and their humanity, but have a practice of trying to give people to each other, particularly people who feel like they don't have anything in common. So I hope that my legacy is about people remembering that they are amazing, awesome, and brilliant, and that that is the truth about every human being, and that
Absolutely.
we
That's
look
so
for that in
amazing.
ourselves and we look for it in other people. And how we can reconnect to our humanity and to each other's, not how we can tear each other down or how we're so different. Just like you are amazing, awesome, and brilliant, and I am amazing, awesome, and brilliant. I get to remember that, and we get to keep reflecting that to each other. That's what I hope the legacy is.
Yeah, I think it's really fun to get to tell everybody how freaking awesome they are. So, I love it.
Good boy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joy, for joining this conversation and for just sharing wisdom with us. I feel uplifted and empowered and excited to continue to go forward. Is there maybe any last thing that you want to leave our listeners with?
I think like where I started with the fact of we are amazing, awesome, and brilliant, and it's also okay sometimes for things to be unremarkable. If it comes at a place where you feel pressured, you have to do more than it makes sense, and you're not filled up, it's okay. Things can also be unremarkable,
I
and
think
that
that's
is
really
still
good.
amazing in its
It
own way.
is. It
Yes.
is amazing. I love it. We one of my favorite moments, a couple years ago, Angela was traveling to another country, living there for 5 weeks. I was at home with small little children, and we shared a video on Instagram that it said, "Whether you're jumping through waterfalls in Costa Rica or playing with your kids in the backyard,
All of it.
freaking awesome is like, this is what being freaking awesome is. It's taking where you are and living in that present moment
It's the
wherever it
human
is."
experience.
Exactly. So I love that it doesn't have to be that big glamorous moment. It's still amazing.
Yes. That you're here and you showed up, that's more than enough.
It is. Where can people find you, connect with you, buy the book? How can they learn more?
Yes. On my website, Joi, unlimited.com. You can go there, and from there you can find all of my books. And I also have a card deck, an affirmation deck called May the
Nice.
Revolution Be Healing.
I
I
love
love that.
that. We'll make sure to put that link in the show notes so you guys can get to it really easily. So, thank you so much again for this conversation today.
Thank you for having me. It was wonderful. Have a beautiful day. I'm sending you all the
Yes.
love your heart can hold.
I love that. I will receive that. And everyone listening, I hope you receive that as well. And until next time, we hope you guys go be freaking awesome.